Well, the United States Department of Defense is apparently interested in trying to fight fake news in the future. Apparently, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, feels that it is their job to be the arbiters of what is right and wrong on the internet, to better protect, or shall we say, defend the American people from things that they don't happen to think are true. You see, the American people are a fickle bunch. They're very gullible, and they're prone to being corrupted by outside interference campaigns. And so we dumb civilians need the military to protect us from ideas that are scary and that might lead us to make rash decisions, such as voting for Donald Trump. I mean, we wouldn't want that bastard Putin to control our political process by releasing leaks that are inconvenient and make the lives of our political establishment difficult. I mean, after all patriotic Americans know that it's our job to bow down to our current elected leaders and never vote them out. I mean, that would practically be treason. And so in order to protect us from this scourge of fake news or inconvenient news, the Pentagon has tasked DARPA, yes, DARPA, the very same agency from Metal Gear Solid, with developing some sort of program that can weed out these fake news stories and protect us all from facts that we otherwise would not need to be privy to. Now, DARPA must have been working on this for quite some time, because now apparently they have some kind of AI program that they've worked out that can search through the internet and find whatever articles that the Pentagon deems to be fake, and with a certain level of precision weed them out and label them as the fake news that they are, so that the American people won't be bothered with having to determine for themselves what is true and untrue. You see, the Pentagon is the one true arbiter of truth. You see, there's often controversy when it comes to truth and news stories on the internet. You see, for a long time, people have said, many people have said, that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was a hoax. But now that we have the Pentagon to tell us what is correct and incorrect, we won't have to be bothered with that, because we will know, thanks to the Pentagon's great, studious artificial intelligence program, we will be able to see that news stories which label the Gulf of Tonkin incident a hoax are simply fake news. Because we all know that North Vietnam attacked the U.S. in the Gulf of Tonkin, and that was totally a legitimate war, and that John McCain is a wonderful hero who served in a very important war that definitely should have happened, and it's a load of fake news if you disagree with the Vietnam War. Likewise, there's also a lot of people in the past who have said, for example, that at the time of the Iraq War, there were folks who said, hey, there aren't actually any weapons of mass destruction. But now that we have this, if we had this AI program back then, the Pentagon could have labeled all of those stories questioning the existence of weapons of mass destruction fake news. And of course, we know in the end it turned out that, of course, Saddam Hussein had a massive chemical weapons stockpile that he was just ready to deploy against Americans in New York City. Oh, and who could forget, the greatest hoax of all, the USS Liberty incident, which never happened. There is no such thing as a USS Liberty incident, which we now know thanks to this new Pentagon AI program. In fact, the USS Liberty is still in service with the U.S. Navy. It was not destroyed by the Israelis, and no Americans died on the USS Liberty. All of these truths and many more can now be known by the public simply by using DARPA's fake news filter. A filter that I'm sure will be applied by the likes of Facebook and Twitter and other major social media sites who definitely don't want to be party to spreading fake news. Now, of course, if you hadn't figured it out by now, I've been completely sarcastic for this entire video. Of course, the Pentagon is not trying to be these great arbiters of truth who are just trying to do a service for the American people and help them weed out actual fake news. No, the Pentagon is obviously trying to develop this program so that they can try and shame and belittle anyone who spreads news that the Pentagon doesn't like, anything that's inconvenient for the Pentagon, whether it's correct or incorrect. some of it may very well be fake news, but certainly they're going to also call out real news that just happens to be bad news for the Pentagon. I'll give you an example. That collateral murder tape that WikiLeaks put out a few years ago, showing some American soldiers killing journalists in Iraq. That video would be labeled a total hoax, probably by the DARPA AI. And of course, the video is 100% genuine, but it's inconvenient for the Pentagon, so that makes it fake news. Remember, the Pentagon's probably, when they say fake news, they mean it the same way, I'm sure, that Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton meant the term fake news. Fake news is just news you don't like. That's how it was for Hillary. For Hillary, all the stuff about the leaks from her servers from the email accounts and the Podesta emails, all that was just fake news to Hillary. Why was it fake news? Did she deny that any of that ever happened? Did she say that it was wrong? Did she say that Podesta, isn't a pedophile? No, she never said that. But it was very inconvenient for her campaign for those emails to come out, so it's fake news. And the same thing for President Trump. President Trump, whether the story is correct or incorrect, if he doesn't like the story, he's calling it fake news. That's just how it goes. And the same is true for the Pentagon, which has the longest history of lying, a much longer history than even Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. The Pentagon has been lying since its creation. And so this new fighting fake news program is just another chapter in that. And there's no reason why anyone should believe it. In fact, if the Pentagon program labels a story false, even if the story actually seems to be false, you should probably give the story the benefit of the doubt, just because the Pentagon is not to be trusted. Remember that the Pentagon is not on the side of the American people. They never have been. In fact, to the Pentagon, one of the greatest threats in their eyes are, in fact, the American people. They've labeled essentially people who question the government as one of their top threats. They consider them to be domestic terrorists. Because if you do anything that would perhaps steer people away from pledging their absolute loyalty to the federal government, well, then you're promoting instability in America. And so we should expect that this DARPA AI program is going to function and practice a lot like a normal government censorship program. Anything the government wants to censor, even if they can't outright remove it, they will label fake news. And eventually we're going to get to the point, mark my words, to where Facebook and Twitter and Google will simply remove links from articles that are labeled fake news by this DARPA AI. They will get to that point pretty soon, I assure you. Because Facebook in particular, and Google, I think Twitter to a lesser extent, but still to a great extent, is closely aligned with the U.S. establishment, because they understand that they want to become a part of that establishment. And so they have no problem assisting these folks in their censorship. And for those of you who think that the government will save you from the evil censors at Facebook and Twitter, and that Jack shadow banning your account is so bad, just wait until actual websites are being railroaded and sidelined because they've been labeled fake news by the Pentagon. I assure you that the Pentagon is a much greater threat to your security combined with Facebook than Facebook ever could be by itself. You can always build another website. You can't build another Pentagon. The Pentagon is it. That's how government works. If you disagree with the government, they make you bend down on your knees and they shoot you in the back of the head. That's how it works, ultimately, if you really don't want to obey the government. So on that happy note, if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.